Welcome to Learn English Fast.
Speak English with confidence.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Henry, and today we're going to talk about something that every English learner struggles with: how to memorize English words easily and remember them for a long time. Have you ever learned a new English word, but then, just a few days later, you forgot it? You looked at it and thought, "Wait, I've seen this word before, but what does it mean again?" Don't worry. This happens to almost everyone. Even native speakers forget words sometimes. Learning new vocabulary is one of the most important parts of learning English. The more words you know, the more easily you can understand people, express your thoughts, and enjoy movies, books, or conversations in English. But memorizing words can be hard if you don't use the right methods. In this episode, we'll talk about why memorizing words feels difficult, how your memory actually works, and most importantly, the smart and simple ways you can remember new English words forever. So, if you often forget vocabulary, or if you feel like your English is not growing because you can't remember new words, stay with me. I'm going to share some easy science-based tips that really work. All right, let's get started by first understanding why vocabulary is so important in English learning. Before we talk about how to memorize words, let's first understand why vocabulary is so important. Vocabulary is the heart of any language. It's the collection of words we use to speak, write, read, and listen. Without words, you can't express ideas. You can know grammar rules. You can pronounce well. But if you don't know enough words, you can't say what you want to say. Think about this. If someone asks, "How was your weekend?" and you only know a few words like good or fine, your answer will be short and simple. But if you know more words like relaxing, productive, exciting, or peaceful, you can express yourself more clearly and naturally. That's the power of vocabulary. It helps you say more, understand more, and connect more. When you watch a movie, read a book, or listen to someone speak, every sentence is built with words. The more words you understand, the easier it becomes to understand the full meaning. And when you speak, vocabulary gives you the freedom to choose the right words for your ideas. So, improving your vocabulary doesn't just make your English better, it makes your communication stronger and your confidence higher. That's why learning and remembering new words is one of the best things you can do to improve your English fast. Now that we know why vocabulary matters so much, let's talk about something every learner faces: why memorizing words feels so hard. Now, let's talk about something that almost every English learner feels. Why is it so hard to remember new words? You might spend time learning new vocabulary, but after a few days, those words just disappear from your mind. It feels like they were never there. Well, don't worry. This is normal. And there are real reasons why it happens. The first reason is that our brain forgets new information very quickly if we don't use it. When you first learn a word, it goes into your short-term memory, the same place you store things like a phone number you just saw. But if you don't review it or use it again, your brain says, maybe this word is not important, and it deletes it. The second reason is that many learners try to memorize too many words at once. You might try to learn 50 or 100 new words in one day. That sounds great, but the truth is, Your brain can't handle that much new information at once. You'll end up forgetting most of them. It's better to learn fewer words, but learn them deeply and use them often. The third reason is learning without context. Many students just read word lists and try to memorize meanings. For example, they write, beautiful equals pretty, happy equals glad, and so on. But that's not real learning. When you learn words without sentences or real examples, your brain doesn't know how to connect them to real life. So it forgets. The fourth reason is that learners don't use the new words they learn. If you never speak, write, or even think with those words, your brain will never move them to long-term memory. It's like buying a tool but never using it. Soon, you forget you even have it. And finally, the fifth reason: motivation. Sometimes learning vocabulary feels boring, and when we're bored, our brain doesn't pay attention. Without attention, there's no memory. That's why we need fun and creative ways to remember words, which we'll talk about later. So, to sum up, we forget words because we learn too many at once. We don't review them, we don't use them, and we don't connect them to real life. But don't worry. In the next part, we'll learn how memory actually works, and how you can train your brain to remember English words easily and naturally. Before we learn the best techniques to remember English words, let's understand a little about how memory actually works. Don't worry, we'll keep it simple. Our brain has two main types of memory: short-term memory and long-term memory. When you first learn a new English word, for example, curious, it goes into your short-term memory. That means your brain can remember it for a short time, maybe for a few minutes or a few hours. But if you don't see or use that word again, your brain thinks, "Oh, this is not important," and it forgets it. To make that word stay in your long-term memory, you need to see it again, hear it again, and use it again. The more you use the word, the stronger the memory becomes. It's like drawing a line. The more times you draw over it, the darker and clearer it gets. Another important thing is connection. Your brain remembers better when you connect new words to things you already know. For example, if you learn the word curious and you think of a curious cat or a curious child asking questions, your brain creates a picture. That picture makes the word easier to remember. Also, your brain remembers things that have emotion or meaning. Think about songs. We easily remember song lyrics because we connect them to feelings or moments. So if you make learning words emotional or fun, you'll remember them longer. And here's a fun fact: your brain loves stories and images. When you connect new words with a story, a funny image, or something from your life, you make a strong memory. So, the secret is not just studying harder. It's about studying smarter. You need repetition, connection, and emotion to move words from short-term to long-term memory. Now that we understand how memory works, let's talk about what really matters: the best and easiest techniques to memorize English words that actually stay in your mind. All right, now that we know how memory works, let's talk about the fun part: smart techniques that can help you memorize English words easily and remember them for a long time. There are many ways to learn new vocabulary, but I'll share the ones that really work. 1. Use spaced repetition. The first technique is called spaced repetition. It means reviewing new words again and again. but with more time between each review. For example, when you learn a new word today, review it after 1 day. Then review it again after 3 days. Then after 1 week. And again after 1 month. Each time you review, the memory becomes stronger. It's like watering a plant. If you water it regularly, it grows well. But if you forget to water it, it dies. There are many free apps like Anki or Quizlet that can help you with spaced repetition automatically. 2. Learn words in context, not lists. The second technique is to learn words in context. Don't just memorize single words from a list. Learn them inside real sentences or short stories. For example, instead of just learning journey equals travel, learn it like this. My journey to London was exciting and full of new experiences. Now you know not only the meaning, but also how to use it naturally. You can do this by reading simple English stories, watching short videos, or listening to podcasts like this one. Every time you meet a new word, look at how it's used, and try to copy that pattern. 3. Use pictures and imagination. The third technique is to connect words to pictures or images in your mind. Your brain loves images. When you make a mental picture, you remember better. For example, if you learn the word bridge, don't just think of the word. Imagine a big bridge you know or one you saw in a movie. If you learn the word lazy, picture someone sleeping on a sofa all day. Funny or emotional images work best. They stick in your memory like glue. 4. Speak and write the words. The fourth technique is simple but powerful. Use the words you learn. Every time you learn new vocabulary, try to use it in your daily life. You can make your own sentences. Write a short story using new words. Use them when speaking with friends or in your English practice. When you speak or write a word, your brain says, this is useful, and it keeps it in long-term memory. 5. Make word connections. The fifth technique is to learn word families or connections. For example, if you learn the word create, also learn creative, creation, and creativity. When you group words that are related, you remember them faster because they are connected in your mind. You can also connect new words to your language or to something familiar. For example, if you know the word photo, it's easy to remember photograph, photography, or photographer. 6. Use flashcards or vocabulary apps. And of course, another great technique is using flashcards or mobile apps. You can make your own flashcards, write the word on one side and a sentence or picture on the other. Review them for 10 to 15 minutes every day. There are also great apps like Anki, Quizlet, or Memrise that use spaced repetition and visuals together. So, remember, don't just study hard, study smart. Use spaced repetition. Learn words in context. Use pictures, speak and write, make connections, and review often. If you practice this way, your vocabulary will grow faster than you ever imagined. Now, let's look at a simple example of how you can use these methods in your daily English practice routine. Now that you know the best techniques to remember English words, let's put everything together into a simple daily routine. You don't need to study for hours every day. Even 15 to 20 minutes is enough if you use your time wisely. Here's an example of what your daily vocabulary routine could look like. Step 1. Review old words. 5 minutes. Start by reviewing the words you learned before. Look at your flashcards or your notebook. Try to remember the meaning and say a sentence with each word. If you forget one, That's okay. Just check it again and repeat it aloud. This short review keeps your old vocabulary fresh in your memory. Step 2. Learn 3 to 5 new words, 5 minutes. Next, learn a few new words, not too many. 3 to 5 words per day is perfect. Read them in context, maybe from a short article, a YouTube subtitle, or an English story. For example, let's say you learn these words: polite, crowded, delicious, borrow, and advice. Don't just memorize the meanings. Make your own sentences. The waiter was very polite. The bus was crowded this morning. That pizza was delicious. By using the words immediately, you help your brain remember them faster. Step 3. Use the words in real life, 5 to 10 minutes. Finally, use those words in speaking or writing. You can talk to yourself in English, write a short paragraph, or record your voice. For example, you could say, "Today I went to a crowded market. The people were friendly and polite. I borrowed a bag from a friend and got some delicious fruit." See? You just used all your new words naturally in a short story. If you do this every day, review, learn a few new words, and use them, your vocabulary will grow quickly, and you'll start remembering words automatically. So, even if you only spend 15 to 20 minutes a day, it can make a huge difference. Consistency is more important than time. It's better to study a little bit every day than to study a lot only once a week. All right, now that we know what a good routine looks like, let's talk about some common mistakes learners make when trying to memorize English words, and how to avoid them. Before we finish, let's quickly talk about some common mistakes that many English learners make when trying to memorize new words. The first mistake is trying to learn too many words at once. If you try to memorize 50 words in one day, your brain gets tired and forgets most of them. It's better to learn just a few words, but learn them deeply and use them often. The second mistake is not reviewing regularly. Learning new words one time is not enough. You must go back, review, and use them again. That's how you move them into long-term memory. The third mistake is learning without context. If you only memorize word lists and meanings, you'll forget them quickly. Always learn words inside sentences or stories so your brain understands when and how to use them. And the last mistake is not using the words in real life. If you never speak or write them, your brain will think they're not important and delete them. Use them often, in your writing, speaking, and even in your thoughts. Avoid these small mistakes, and your learning will become much faster and easier. Now, let's wrap up with some final motivation and encouragement to keep you going strong on your English journey.